Time to check out our ride of the week, the Motoguzzi Daytona 1000. At the heart of this jewel is an all-new air-cooled 4-valve per cylinder fuel-injected V-twin, sporting innovative belt-driven cams located within each cylinder head. The underslung engine, used as a stress member, is sandwiched by those Dr. John-inspired cast aluminum swing arm pivots, while the Daytona's backbone frame is comprised of rectangular chrome moly steel. Out back, you'll find a Connie shock fitted cantilever style to a braced chrome moly swing arm. Recently, we invited Ducati owner Catherine Perrin, along with contributing editor Larry Tate, to sample the Daytona on the same streets that inspired this bike's name.
It's a big change for Motoguzzi. Of course, they've always used this V-twin configuration, and they've kept that. So for the purists and so on who are used to the old type of bike, it's still there, but it's very different with the cam in the head. 4 valves per cylinder. They've gone to fuel injection. It feels, again, very different. It revs a lot more quickly than Guzzi's have in the past. The flywheel feels a bit lighter, and certainly it revs a lot faster with the 4 valves up top. And the fuel injection makes a big difference to the way the engine runs. It just, you don't have to worry about it stalling or stopping, or it just goes. I was also pleasantly surprised by how easily the motor starts up and runs and idles. It's just like a little tractor, you know. The older ones, again, they were kind of hard to start sometimes. They weren't that keen on idling and just trucking around town. But the fuel injection and the computer work on this thing have done a big change there.
I found this one, it was a little more gutsy, more torquey. There's no hesitating. I found I don't know if it's a tuning thing with the Ducati or whether it's just the way it is, but I found a little bit hesitant rolling on the throttle, whereas with the Guzzi it's just solid. It never hesitates, no hicks and coughs. It just rolls right on, nice and smooth and very powerful, and you really feel it. You know you got something powerful underneath you there, that's for sure. One of the downfalls for the bike for myself, I guess for somebody who had really strong hands it wouldn't be that bad, but I did get a little tired, and I don't know if that's just, it's probably a combination of not having ridden all winter, yeah, and you know, it's just first time on the bike kind of thing for quite some time. But it was tiring after a while, especially with the stopping and turning and riding in traffic. It was a little heavy, a little heavier than the Ducati, and of course much heavier than most of the Japanese bikes, I imagine.
Well, this thing is very new for Guzzi in a lot of ways. You know, the engine is very radically reworked, as we talked about earlier. But also the really big thing that Dr. John Whitmer has done for the factory is to redesign the rear end. When he was racing these things in the States, he developed a suspension system that basically removed the shaft drive effect from driving these things. Now they still, it rocks a bit, right? When you really rev it, the thing tends to pull over on you.
I like that though.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. But it used to be also that, you know, the back end would rise and fall quite a bit as you got the power on and off. But what they've done back in here now, this huge casting here attaches to the main spine down tube, comes through here. This big casting fits on the end here. The swing arm is pivoted through this casting. All this bracing up in here makes it even more rigid, and then this tube back on the inside, this torque tube, carries all the forces from the changing drive shaft system back up into the frame directly. It doesn't go through the suspension anymore, so that the drive shaft down in here is articulated at both ends, and the bottom line is that you really don't notice it's a shaft drive bike. It's not like driving a BMW or an older Guzzi at all. It just really is not an effect. It's a remarkable piece of work.
The clutch is just a little too tiring for doing a lot of. On the highway it wouldn't be a problem, but in city or in town it'd be a little tough, I think, and for myself. And I found that the warning lights, I don't know if it's just my height or what it is, but I find that this rubber edging here, it obliterates the warning lights perfectly. Just from where I'm sitting, I have to duck. Oh, yeah. I have to duck a little bit to see the warning lights, but. And another thing I noticed was, I certainly wouldn't give it up for this, but my niece sort of knocking into the cylinder heads, but I guess it kind of depends on where you sit on the seat. Yeah. But I found that the most comfortable spot on the seat was right up close to the tank. and that was the best position for me, yet my knees were just brushing on the cylinder heads, which wasn't, I mean, it wasn't a problem. It was just a matter of shifting yourself just, you know, an inch or so back, and that was enough.
I suspect that a lot of the switchgear is Nippon Denso stuff from Japan. It has that look, and it feels very much like a lot of the other Japanese switchgear does. This stuff, I can't give it any higher compliment than to say it works like a Japanese bike rather than an Italian bike. And you know, no insult to anybody who likes Italian bikes, but switchgear has never been one of their strong points, and this stuff is a real step forward.
It's a take out on a nice sunny day kind of bike. Just, I think, not only for the fact that it's maybe a little bit more difficult seating position, but just because it'd be such a shame to get it dirty. It's so pretty.
Yeah, it is that.
You definitely want to keep it looking like it does right now.
Yeah.
Just to recap our impressions of the Daytona, on the downside, Larry found the reach to the clip-ons extreme, while Catherine's knees kept banging the cylinder heads. Catherine also found the clutch to be a tad stiff, and everyone complained about the spring-loaded side stand. On the upside, we loved the fuel-injected engine for its smooth power delivery and throaty roar. The Daytona was surprisingly nimble through the curves, and everyone loved this Ferrari red sports machine for its fit and finish. Now that's Italian.